We're finally out of there! I woke up, lying in a hammock while in a groggy state. The sunlight was piercing through the leaves of a mighty tree that was casting a giant shadow on me. Joshua, Adeline, and Christopher were all standing around the hammock with worried expressions plastered on their faces. Am I still bleeding? I asked with deep confusion lingering in my mind. Nope, we fixed you all up, said Adeline, zipping up a duffel bag. You lost a lot of blood, and so did Joshua. I got off of the hammock. Massive bandages were wrapped around my legs and arms. I looked like a mummy. Joshua looked the same, though. Where even are we? I asked, rubbing my eyes and itching my neck. Deep inside the forest, replied Adeline, walking up to Joshua to tend to his exposed bruises. What? Why did you bring us into the forest? What if we get lost? I yelled, my echo traveling across the empty forest. Relax, you still have your phone on you, so we can easily find our way out, said Adeline, wrapping more bandages around Joshua. The birds chirped loudly through the forest as silence persisted. What even happened? Why did Adeline, Christopher, and Joshua all flee to the forest out of all places? I decided to sit down on the marsh soil of the forest, quietly playing with the rocks and twigs engraved in the soil. What even happened? I asked quietly. Sorry, Joshua, mumbled Adeline after a couple seconds. It's okay. I was never planning to kill Leo, replied Joshua with his normal uplifting voice. I looked around. The faint memory came back to me. He did try to kill me. Don't you remember, Leo? Asked Adeline, walking up to me. Barely, but yes, I replied, nervousness becoming apparent in my voice. Mr. Franklin was following us the whole time we were getting out of there, said Christopher, adjacent from the hammock and closer to Joshua. We probably have to get on the move shortly. He's faster than we thought, said Adeline, getting up to take down the hammock. Even though Joshua said said his dad loved to be gluttonous around cheesecakes and other treats, he's much more athletic than we thought. I looked around the forest. A mirror, a half-taken-down hammock, and a porta-potty. Nothing but trees for miles. How far did you guys exactly run? I asked, curious. About 7 miles from the fairgrounds, I replied Adeline. Probably more, actually. I haven't checked our location in about 45 minutes. I looked at them with astonishment. And you guys carried me the whole way? I asked, confused. No, we took you on an old wagon just outside of the maze, replied Adeline, smiling at me. How did you guys even escape? I asked, perplexed. I mean, none of us could find the exit from my memory. After Chris and I grabbed a knife, he got scared and ran away, said Adeline. Then we had to drag you by your shirt out of the maze towards the entrance. Joshua was bleeding, but he could still walk and follow us toward the entrance. No, I muttered. No, you're lying, Adeline. My expression turned cold. Mr. Franklin wouldn't run off like that after seeing two teenagers holding knives. He doesn't get scared easily. Christopher looked in my direction. I noticed he was sitting on an old wooden chair that I wasn't able to see earlier. We are not lying, Leo. Quit being so facetious, he yelled. I'm not, Chris. After turning the entire Greenfield skyline into a hellfire, he has some real resilience that shouldn't be tested. I yelled at Christopher in a stroke of anger. All right. Quit arguing about this stupid crap, everyone, said Joshua. It doesn't matter. Even I can confirm that what Adeline said was true. I looked at all three of them in a different way that's not normal for my personality. They were all starting to feel like fake friends to me, but I knew they weren't. I saw all three of them quietly talking about something. What they didn't know was that I could hear the sound of someone in the woods with us, crawling through the underbrush, crushing the twigs and other things on the forest floor. Where are those hedonistic kids? Their acolytes should be burned in a fire deep in hell. Master, I don't know where they are. They keep running like little cockroaches. I turned around and heard the sound of many people crawling through the bushes. I stepped back a little, my heart starting to beat loudly. Well, go and get them. We were so close to ending, Leo, but you still hear somehow. The sound of a man shrieking loudly echoed through the forest. I heard the crack of a twig and missed the loud shriek of pain. This forest is so annoying to go through. Shut up! Now those kids know we're here. Sorry. Should have just stayed out of the team. I looked behind and saw that Joshua, Christopher, and Adeline were still talking quietly. Leo, were you the one who shrieked? Yelled Joshua, with Christopher quietly laughing. Shut up, you two. We need to get out of here, I yelled, running in their direction in panic. Those kids, said a tall man emerging from the bushes. Master, they're right here. I went to stand right next to Adeline, Christopher, and Joshua. They were standing up straight at the side of this man. Joshua was hyperventilating. When did these visitors come here? Asked Joshua, confused. I remember this person. He's the stupid man that was with Mr. Franklin, said Christopher in deep fear. Are you all packed up, Adeline? Asked Joshua, his facial expression turning into a deep fear similar to Christopher's. I turned around and saw that Adeline wasn't there anymore. She was nowhere to be seen. Adeline? I yelled into the empty forest, running into a bush across from where Mr. Franklin's crew was still standing. Leo, where's Adeline? I looked to my left and saw that a random boy was standing in the bushes. What the heck was happening? Who are you? I asked, extremely bewildered. How do you know my name? Mr. Franklin's crew is right over there. We don't have enough time for this chatting, said the young boy, lying down in the bushes away from sight. I heard the sound of someone falling precede that. Christopher grunted loudly. I turned around and saw a man push him to the ground and aggressively beat him up. Joshua was trying to push the man off, but he couldn't do anything. What do you think you're doing? I yelled angrily, running up to dropkick the man on top of Christopher. Leo, just leave him be. The random boy was standing up from the bushes now, right when I was about to land my kick. He saw the mob of Mr. Franklin's crew members aggressively running through the forest ground towards Christopher. Joshua fell to the floor, now sobbing in helplessness. Why should I leave him be? I yelled at him, tears rolling down my steaming face. They're all dying. I can't let my friends die like this. Christopher and Joshua were inhumanely being beaten up, their faces becoming swollen and a pool of blood developing on the soil of the forest. I looked at them helplessly. I couldn't do anything. I was too feeble. He's right here, Gabriel, yelled the young boy, pointing at me. All the men stopped beating up Joshua and Christopher. The men all took their gaze and planted it on me. Their stare was burning my eyes. Men, how are you guys so blind? Our objective was those kids and whatever her name is, yelled the angry Mr. Franklin, walking between all of his men, right next to Joshua and Christopher, now knocked out on the cold forest ground. Their faces were bleeding relentlessly. Our objective was Leo. Go kill him right now. I backed up in response and tripped on a branch in the bushes, falling to the ground. I looked at the boy in absolute anger. How is he this mean and immoral? I got up and started running through the thick bushes in the forest. Men, he's running away. Get him, yelled Mr. Franklin, pointing at me as I stared back at the frightening mob of people. I looked straight at Mr. Franklin and nothing else. The pain was unbearable. My legs were starting to feel weak. What else could I do? The mob approached closer and closer to me. I helplessly looked into their eyes before I blacked out. You're okay, aren't you? I opened my eyes. Well, I tried to. I didn't have the strength to do so, however. They were tightly closed. I could peel them open to see a bit, but the amount of vision that I had wasn't good enough to see much. I knew one thing, though. I wasn't in the forest anymore. Where? I coughed loudly, gasping for air after trying to speak. My voice was extremely husky and my throat was coarse. Just don't speak until you've recovered. It's better if you don't, comforted the mysterious voice. I recognized this voice, though. It sounded like the boy I encountered in the forest. My name is Clyde. I'm going to ask you some questions, and you reply with a thumbs down or thumbs up. That explains how I recognized that voice. Through the faintness of my vision, I could see Clyde walk over to a desk adjacent to me and pick up a stack of papers. I tried to get up from where I was, but immediately collapsed. I think I was in a hospital bed. Careful now, this bed is really old. You don't want it breaking, said Clyde, walking up to my side. I felt so horrible. How was this Clyde person okay? Where was Joshua? Where was Christopher? Where was Adeline? All right, first question, said Clyde after he shuffled through some papers. Are you the Greenfield hero? My eyes could finally open now. It took me a couple of seconds to answer because I was examining the room. The room was very stony with several desks piled with papers and old machines and other objects on top of those machines. Machines filled with red and green liquid covered the room. I couldn't quite read the text printed on the machines. Yes or no? Asked Clyde. I showed a thumbs up. Okay, next question. Clyde was shuffling through even more papers. A couple of them fell on top of me. Using my weak energy, I picked up one of the papers and read it while Clyde was still shuffling through the papers he was holding. June 15th, 2019. Mayor Xavier Gabriel. To my dear friend, please don't join his team. I know you hate Leo. I know you didn't like it when I told you Mr. Franklin committed suicide. It upset you, a message you conveyed to me in a somewhat bad way. I never knew that you liked him, but you betrayed all of us. And you wanted this. You asked for this. Adeline isn't doing okay right now. I'm sending this to let you know that whatever you do, we are not scared of it. Leo will survive, Adeline will survive, and Christopher will survive. I apologize for the redacted text on this letter. My pencil kept breaking while I was writing this. Mayor. I only got a couple of seconds to read. Clyde snatched the paper away from my hands in a rush. I tried transcribing this letter from my memory to the paper as best as I could. The redacted text really was there on the letter. "Next question, Leo," said Clyde ecstatically. "What happened in the maze?" I didn't know how to respond with a thumbs down or thumbs up to this question. "Sorry, I meant to ask, how are you feeling right now?" asked Clyde as I could hear him walking frantically across the room. I showed a thumbs down. "How about your feelings of regression?" asked Clyde. I showed a thumbs down, or thumbs up. I really was feeling feeble, just like my past self, getting bullied and made fun of. This time, though, I'm being made fun of by someone I used to look up to, my best friend's father. "If I were to discharge you right now, would you answer the questions on this packet of paper?" asked Clyde, dropping a packet of papers on my stomach. I showed a thumbs up. Afterward, I heard a loud beeping from my left. My weakness left and my vision returned. Now I really saw who was in the room with me. Mayor Xavier and Clyde, the boy I saw in the forest. "Mayor Xavier!" I blurted out, astonished. "This person is a terrible human. How are you with him right now?" Mayor Xavier absently looked at me. "He's working with me and the others at City Hall," Mayor Xavier calmly replied. "Right about that one," said Clyde, smiling ear to ear. I looked at Mayor Xavier, perplexed. "You do know that he let Christopher and Joshua get terribly beaten up in the forest and almost got me killed, right?" I asked, my speaking becoming distorted due to how fast I was trying to speak. I looked down. My hands were covered in dry blood. The blanket that was tangled around me was stained with blood. "Just get out of bed and answer my question," said Clyde, grabbing my arm and tearing me out of the bed. I stumbled, nearly tripping on the heap of wires on the floor as I got ripped out of the bed. "Are you feeling all right?" asked Mayor Xavier, concerned. "Not really," I mumbled. Clyde put me down in a seat with a very creaky desk. He gave me a paper full of questions and a pencil. "It's about 47 questions long," said Clyde, walking away with Mayor Xavier, "and you have about 5 minutes to get it done." I plucked my head down on the desk. 5 minutes to answer that many questions? I heard the door slam behind me and the distant sound of footsteps fading. I guess now was the time to get started on these questions. Since my recollection of this time wasn't great, I can't write the question down and what I answered. I believe that I didn't even get halfway through before the 5 minutes were up. "Time's up. Are you done with your questions?" asked Clyde, walking into the room. His greeting was extremely loud. I looked behind. My facial expression was a mixture of concern and disgust. "No, I didn't," I replied. "That's fine," said Clyde. His coruscation and his facial expression almost lit up the room. "That's all we needed from you. After I check the paper, we'll excuse you." Clyde walked up and grabbed the paper. He quickly examined it before walking across the room and making a printed copy in the printer nearby. Around this time, I was having fusions of amnesia. My head was throbbing, my heart was beating loudly, and I could barely walk. All I remember is Clyde talking to me and then the both of us walking out of the room. I know for a fact that this place we were in was extremely monotonous and gray. It was incredibly empty, too. The elevator was also really loud and creaky as I was heading out of there. One thing I do remember while I was walking out with Clyde was Clyde saying, "It's like Mr. Franklin's becoming what Satan was once like." Now, I didn't know what he meant by that, but as I'm writing this, I do now. I do know what he meant now. After walking out of City Hall, I quickly stood outside of City Hall, right on that balcony. I kept on catching myself nearly falling asleep at times. The bright sunlight radiating down on the magnificent building refracted from the water below me in the fountain. Where was I supposed to go now?